So, Pete Wild, we're back with a kitchen catch up, and it's a funny one because every time we do this, you're always in your kitchen, and I'm never in my kitchen. But we'll still call it a kitchen catch up. But how are you doing?
It shows who cooks in your house, mate.
It's definitely not me.
Definitely not you. No.
But yeah, I think one of the first questions actually from the fans, because I'm going to go straight into the fans' questions first. A different little structure that I'll do this time around is go with the fans' questions, and there's one about your kitchen, so I'll come to that one. I'll come to that one first, and it's from Paul Brown on Twitter, and he says, "As this is a kitchen catch-up, does Pete have a signature dish?"
Oh, right, okay. Well, this kitchen catch-up, a signature dish. Well, the honest answer is when I moved out of my mum's, I couldn't even tell you how to turn the oven on. I'd probably be tough with toast. One thing my good lady has taught me how to do is to cook some meals. And you know what? I made a spag bol the other week, and I was dead proud of myself because I don't think I've ever made one of them before. So in terms of that, I have become far better because it's basically, we have a young son as well. And just before we've done this, I've just made him his tea. So I've become far better. I'm going to go with the spag bol because it was probably one of my proudest moments in the kitchen. And that was literally probably 2 weeks ago. Not for a 37-year-old bloke, that is it, really? I put it down to only child syndrome, that like my mum was always just doing my tea at home and I never learned. So
yeah. Well, I'm a 20-year-old man who still lives at home, so I might have to start picking a few things from you there, Pete.
Stay there, mate. My advice: stay there.
And Paul has a second question as well. It's very different to his first one, but he asks, "What is the scouting setup? And do you have your own, or is it like a sort of a pool that we sort of tap into?"
The scouting setup?
Yeah.
Right. So I place a lot of pride in our scouting model. So it's two-pronged. We have Gareth McClelland, also, who was with the club previously and has come back in the last 18 months, who does a fantastic job around scouting. Well, on a Friday, I will always ask Gareth to go to certain games for the next 7 days. And then I'll tell Gareth where I'm going. Chris will tell Gareth, and we have a little WhatsApp group between the three of us. And we share team sheets, etc., from where we've been during the week and what we've done. Then Gareth will hold a central database of players that we've seen across the season, and players that we feel we should keep on, and Gareth grades them then A, B, C, etc. On the flip side, on the other side of that as well, is that obviously I head up the opposition analysis. So from time to time I'll ask Gareth. So Gareth last Saturday went to watch Stockport Weymouth, for example. So when I'm watching opposition teams, well, I'm also watching players when we come up against players, and I hold every team sheet probably from the last 5 years of every game I've ever managed or been to. And then what I do is hold a central database for me personally, that's got Championship, League One, League Two, Conference, National League North, and then there's a separate one for under 23s. So as a manager, I think one of the biggest traits of a manager is if somebody asks you about a player, you need to know about them. And if somebody asks me about a player and I don't know about them, I get pretty frustrated. So in answer to the question, it's a two-pronged attack. But what we have had in recent years is that because now we're quite trusted, especially with young players and young player development, we get recommended players as well. So we're keeping our eye on maybe the lower end of the non-league spectrum of players that your Sam McClintocks, for example, your Jamie Cooks, that just come out of nowhere, and we need to be the first on to them. So I'd like to think probably one of our strengths is our knowledge of recruitment and how we go about with such a small, with basically three of us doing it, and at times Pogsy the goalie coach and Jacko the kit man will go and watch games. So we rely on that knowledge, but I would say that's probably one of our strengths currently.
Yeah, brilliant. And just sort of touch upon Sam McClintock there. I think that's quite an interesting one because, he's come from down south. I know you spoke about Jamie Cook as well, but obviously he was northwest based, so it's, sort of around our area. But for players like Sam McClintock and Jesse Deborah as well, and there's a question on Jesse after, so we can touch on that as well. I know we spoke about Jesse in the last catch-up we did, but Sam McClintock, firstly, how was he sort of drafted in, and how was that how did he come about really from the scouting network?
Well, it's interesting really because it came from Matty Stenson being on loan. And Matty Stenson came back and went, there's a midfielder that I played against at Alvechurch. He said, what a good young player. So straight away, Gaz, get in the car. Off you go, Gaz. Come down to South Birmingham.
Yeah.
So I chase up on everything. And there's people, listen, there's people out there that'll tell me names and I'll think, right, I'll get around to that. But if somebody has a massive recommendation and Steno's one of my players, so I'm going to listen to what he says. So Gaz goes down, says, yeah, what a good player. We then get him in for a week. So just before Christmas, he came in for a week and another week with us, and you could see little bits. You could see the potential he has. So we take a punt because there was various League Two clubs. There was one League One club watching him. And the model we have, like we spoke about before, is that we bring him in and then we send them back out for what is their value, their wage value. So in some respects, it's an educated punt on a young player. And I must say, having had him up here full time for the last 3-4 weeks, yeah, he's a good footballer. He's a good footballer.
Yeah.
We made the right decision in following that recommendation up.
Yeah, and you spoke about that recommendation coming from one of your players, and I think something you spoke about a lot, and that I feel like the fans can even sort of pick on this, because I feel like the players, especially this season, have been really close to the fans and they've had those connections, and I think everyone's been able to realise that the set of lads we've got as individuals are just really nice people. And I was listening to a podcast, I think it was last week, I can't remember where I've heard it. I think Carlos Corberán at Huddersfield Town, when he signs a player, he makes them sort of find the stadium from like an industrial estate. So they'll be obviously in an industrial estate, and then they have to find the stadium, and apparently it shows the sort of character that they are. And so for you, when you're bringing a player in, what's the sort of tick sheet in a way for them as a person?
Number one, they got to be a good lad. Not number one's a good footballer. Number one is they got to be a good lad. Yeah. I'm revisiting the legacy book at the moment, the New Zealand ones that refers to no beat heads, and it's so true. It's so true. One bad apple can ruin your dressing room, and they have to be in it for a higher cause. And we do so much interrogation on them being good people, and we do so much backstory on people they've played for. We'll speak to players that have been in the same dressing room as them. We'll speak to managers and coaches who've managed them. I will go to town on our sort of our due diligence before we bring in them. Yeah. We don't, and if we we'll get some wrong. I've got 2 or 3 wrong in the time that I've been here, and that's my fault, and I hold that dearly to myself. But if I realise I've got it wrong, I get rid of them straight away. Yeah, brilliant. And I won't have it. I won't have energy sappers in the dressing room. I won't have bad people in the dressing room. And that's why we've got good people. Good teams have good dressing rooms, and that starts with good characters. And we've got real good characters. And like you say, they forged a sort of bond with the fans this year. And then I'm pleased about that, because that's been reciprocal. The players have forged that link with the fans, and the fans have been reciprocal back. That's probably why sometimes I get irate when fans have a pop at them, because they are trying their absolute best for the football club, and we've brought the right people in to try and give us the best opportunity to push the club forward. Yeah, perfect. And we spoke, I touched upon Jesse a few moments ago, and the next question on Twitter from Josh is, how has Deborah developed over the season, leading him to become a regular within the squad? And will we see him when we return to the regular back four and have our full backs available? Right, okay, there's a few questions in there, isn't there? So Jesse's developed along with a lot of our young players, and what our model of dealing with young players is that you drop them in, drop them out, and drop them out, and until they get that confidence where they can sustain a run of games. And I think that's been true with Jay Ben and with Jesse Deborah. I think they're 2 of our young players that we've had to drop in and drop out. But in previous seasons, we've done that with Jack Senior. We did that with Jack Earing. We did that with Jeff King. So there's lots of examples where we've had to drop young players in and drop them out, and drip feed the intensity of this league to them. And I think Jesse's learned. One thing that Jesse is, he's a sponge. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. He's desperate to get better, as are all our young players. and that's why we bring them in, because they want to learn and want to get better. So he's developing really well. He's had a good run of games. He got man of the match Saturday, which I thought was fully deserved. And will he stay in? Who knows? Who knows? All I'm focused on is picking the best team for Weymouth on Saturday. I don't look further ahead than Weymouth. The players don't look further ahead than Weymouth, and that's how we've got to behave. So who knows is the answer to the question, because that's the $1 million question that I have to answer generally every Thursday to the players leading into Friday.
That's brought me really nicely onto my next question. It's from Martin Lee. And obviously, speaking about team selection and things like that, the question is, do you or Millie ever play Football Manager? If so, how good are you at it? I'm so terrible at reading these questions, by the way. I do apologise.
Yeah, so
I'm so bad at reading off of the phone. Sorry.
I'd say the big Football Managers people are in the staff. For Scholes, Aaron Scholes, the physio, he was with who did he have? Bradford Park Avenue, and then you got young Jack, the intern, the GPS intern, who's currently in League Two with Blythe Spartans. So there you two, Football Manager. I don't have a clue to play. I played it as a young lad, of course I did. Yeah. But I haven't played it in years. I believe I'm still 42 on it, which outrages me. But apart from that, I have to play Football Manager every day in my life. So no, when I go home, the last thing I want to be doing is putting Football Manager on.
I think, do we want to just sort of clear that up as well? Because I don't think it says anywhere online what your date of birth is. You don't even say it on Wikipedia. I think it just says, I think it's...
My date of birth? Oh,
yeah. So people who... there we go. So if you're on one of them people who edit stuff on Wikipedia, just pop it in. And I'll try pick another good question off the back of that. I like this one.
Are you saying there's some bad questions on there, Roy?
I'm not. No, I've just screenshotted them in a really weird order. So I should have picked my order before I started. I like this one from Mark Dennis, and obviously Weymouth on Saturday. I'm not sure when this video will be out. It most likely will be Friday, which is tomorrow, because it's Thursday at the moment of filming. And obviously we'll be setting off to go to Weymouth. And he asks, what do the team normally do when they stop over to go to an away game, from setting off on Friday to getting back Saturday night?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Obviously, when it's an overnighter, depending on which way we're going, we will train. I've done it loads of different ways, but this group this year seem to prefer to train before we leave. So that's what we do, because that's what they prefer. So we'll train on the Friday morning, like generally 45 minutes, at the most an hour, all in. And then we'll set off generally around about 11 o'clock from one of the meet points. And then obviously there's 2 or 3 meet points on the way down for lads, so they can get home better at the end of the day. There's normally, on the way down, there's normally a group of them playing cards. There's normally a group of them watching the iPads, watching a film. And there's normally a group of them just chatting away. They're quite a unique group in the fact that they've all got different things. But the buses, what I like about it is the bus is normally lively, and somebody's normally getting called out for cheating at cards, which I kind of like. And then sometimes Pogsy will have a little bit of something for halfway down when we stop at a services or whatever. But we try and get to where we're going to be for around about 4 or 5 o'clock at the latest. I always want to be sort of in residence for latest 5 o'clock. So that's why we try and train and get out of there as quickly as we can. So tomorrow morning, for example, we will train at 9 a.m. And then the bus will leave at 10 o'clock finish, and the bus will leave at 11. So when we get down there and they have a little bit of downtime when they get to the rooms, generally about 6:30, we'll have some food. And then it'll be straight into, after food, straight into analysis. So whether that's in possession, out possession. So today we've already done the out possession. So tomorrow night it'll be set pieces analysis. I like my meetings to be boom, short, out of there in 10 minutes. So it'll be set piece analysis, and then it'll be Pogsy's famous quiz. So Pogsy does a quiz, which is highly competitive. It's great. It's interactive. There's music. There's films. He does it well, and it's well received by the boys as well. Yeah, like I say, it's highly competitive. The staff are having a beast this year, which I think we've only won one. So that's in the evening. Then generally that's them free for their evening to go on to the rooms or to go and have a chat or whatever they want to do. They're a great group, so they can trust you to do whatever they want to do. Then Saturday morning up, breakfast generally between 8 and 10. Then team meeting at 10 o'clock. So we'll finish off whatever analysis. So Saturday morning this week will be in possession analysis, 10 o'clock. Then we'll go for a little walk just to stretch the legs. Pre-match meal's always 11:45. And then we'll set off depending on where we are. I think we're just under an hour away. So we'll set off probably around 12:30 or just before. I always like to be at the ground for 1:30. So that's sort of whistle stop tour, and then obviously on the way home, pizzas and hopefully a boombox going because we've won.
Yeah.
so hopefully that's a whistle stop tour and gives you a little bit of what we're about and how we go about our business.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just want to, obviously there's a lot said there, but I think one thing I want to touch upon in a way is sometimes when we travel in the Leeds Rhinos, coach, do you ever get sort of any weird sort of looks or anything like oh, it's the Leeds Rhinos boys, but it isn't?
Well, because obviously Rob Burrows is on the side, you get a lot of beeps of the horn on your way down, everybody having a nosy. A lot of people when we stop at the service taking photos, etc. And it's the small bits that raise awareness for M&D for Rob. They're fantastic. But yeah, it's a decent bus to be fair. So yeah, we like the bus. With Greg, the driver's a legend. He can get you home from anywhere in 3 hours. Just don't look forwards. That's the key when Greg's driving. But on a serious note, he's great, and he's not an ounce of bother with Greg. He just gets us where we need to be, and generally in record time.
Yeah, perfect. And the next question is from South Stand Loyal on Twitter, and they ask, without giving trade secrets away, how does the club go about recovering from Saturday to getting prepared for the next Saturday, and how much is general fitness, recovery, prep, that kind of thing?
Well, one game a week's a dream, because you can prepare. I mean, we wear the GPS, and the biggest reason we wear the GPS is to track loading training, obviously track load on match days. Yeah. So we can keep our boys. We know exactly what kilometres they should be running, in what time frame. We know exactly how long the session should be. And that's been continuous work with the S&C and with Aaron, the physio, to get that spot on. And touch wood, that's why you hardly see us getting any muscle injuries, because of how stringent we are with, and that's all because of the GPS. And like I say, young Jack's coming now to head up the GPS stuff, and a report generally by 10 o'clock on a Saturday night in on what the boys have run and how they've run, and that sort of structures the week. So then Mondays are generally about an hour, well, generally 45 minutes, get the legs going. There'll be some pre-ab work in the gym. Tuesday, if it's a one game a week, Tuesday's always about being physical, harder session. Wednesdays is always off. Thursday today is about winning. So it's a winning day on a Thursday, so everything's competitive and winning. And then Friday tomorrow is about team shape, and getting ready for the weekend. So a lot of our work is based around our timings and our GPS timings, and that's been a real success for us and a real positive for us in terms of how we do that. And because the three coaches, me, Millie and Joe, are all aligned, we all know who's doing what, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and everybody can be trusted just to get on with their jobs. And certainly on a Thursday and Friday, I sort of ask for what we want in trading. So Thursday being out of possession, Friday being all about us in possession. I ask for the boys what I want, and then I go and stand on a sort of you've seen them, Robert, stand on a lofted bit, so I can just see how it looks and see players and see who's ready and who's not ready, and how it looks. And I can take a step back while the two boys go off in the tactical element, which really suits me.
Yeah, and you touched upon the word competitive in your answer there, and it sort of brings us smoothly onto Sam McPartland on Twitter, who asks, did Pete ever play football growing up? If so, what position and type of player was he? Mr. Competitive is my guess, and he reckons he didn't like losing, and he also says good luck. Keep up the good work and good luck.
Well, it's funny because I've had this question screenshotted to me in my mates group, who will probably give you a different answer to what I'm about to give you. So Yeah, I played a little bit. I like playing left back, left centre half was generally where I played. Probably some say I could head it further than I could kick it. But yeah, always been competitive. Always hated losing. I go back to the only child syndrome of liking my own way. But always Mr. Competitive. Always anything I do, don't want to lose. Anything I'm involved in, no point in playing if you're not going to win. So. But what I realised quite quickly was I ain't going to be a professional footballer. And at 18 started doing my badges. And by the time I was thinking 2021, the local Saturday side around here asked if I wanted to start getting on the coaching side with them and helping them out. And
yeah,
I could earn money doing that. And instead of paying a fiver to get screamed at or slung 10 foot in the air by some random bloke. So it just made sense to me that I was a switched on kid in terms of money. Come from a background of working all my life in a pub, so I knew money was always been my driver in terms of wanting to earn it, not how much, but wanting to earn it. So I just decided to play, and I don't miss playing. I joined in with the players about a month ago, and I was proper competitive, but I couldn't move for about a week after I joined in with them. And they're all laughing because I was like Mr. Serious, head down, wanting to run around, and they're all laughing at me. But yeah, I don't miss playing. I don't miss playing. But hopefully that answers your question. That certainly massively competitive, and I can't stand losing. I can't stand losing at anything.
Yeah, and obviously that's the 11th side bit, and then Nick Horn on Twitter has asked.
Oh, go on! I know what this is.
Have you learnt to pass the ball when playing five-a-side yet?
Well, there you go. There's your answer. Because I hate losing, I just want to score. And I just want, when I used to play five-a-side with Nick, I just wanted to score because I hated losing. So I never passed to anybody because I hated losing. So it's just absolute contradictory in terms of what you would say as a coach.
Yeah. And David Gibbs on Twitter asks, what does Pete do to switch off and relax if he ever gets a chance to?
I think I've got better at this. When I come home, I generally do the school run and I make sure I will get up at 5 a.m. and get all my work done. So when we're going into training, by 9 o'clock, I know most of my work's done because I've got up and done it early doors. So when I get home, there'll be phone calls and a bit of admin to do. But as soon as I pick my lad up at 3:30, unless I'm going to a game in the evening, I try and switch off. Because otherwise it used to take over my life, and that's not a good thing. So I try and switch off. In terms of generally, me and my wife like to go out for something to eat, or as a family we like to go and do something to eat. I've loved now switching off, going and watching my lad play football. It's something new for me to go and experience. And generally on a Sunday afternoon, if I'm allowed, I will go out for a couple of hours and have a couple of pints with my mates at the end of the week just to catch up with my friends. And I'll go off four rules: good dad, good husband, good son, good mate. And if you're ticking 4 of them off at the end of the week, then I'm happy. And so I've learned that I can't change the world in what you can only do so many things. If I tick 5 things off my list during the day and I had 10 on them, I'm happy. And I just move everything to the next thing. So I think in that situation, switching off is just changed my lifestyle a little bit to make sure that there's more to life than just, oh my God, are we going to win on Saturday?
Yeah. And it's a really, I think when you're doing well, like we are at the moment, I think obviously some of the stuff that you've spoken about there, it's a really sort of grounded mindset. And that's quite nice because Andy Surratt on Twitter has said everyone's getting excited with the promotion push. But how do you keep the players grounded and sort of what things were learned from what happened maybe last season when things were tailed off, he says?
So what did we learn? We needed a bigger squad that we could mould into what we wanted it to be. Obviously, COVID loans hurt that at the end of last season. We were always behind the 8 ball last year because we were always chasing it. So having a better start to the season helped us get more points on the board. But how do we keep the ground? Because the players wanted a next game mentality.
Yeah.
That's what the players wanted. They wanted to live by the next game and do the best in the next game. And I sort of added the caveat of now and again of let's stay at 2 points a game. So we're chasing the 2 points a game mark, and we'll be excited if in the next 2 games we're at 60 points. That's what will excite us and nothing else. And that keeps us grounded. That keeps us grounded. I don't look at league tables.
Yeah.
I only found out today that Chelsea had beat Notts County. So I don't look at results. It's pointless. There's no point whatsoever. So how do I keep myself grounded is I just concentrate on what I've got to do tomorrow, Weymouth on Saturday. And I have not even thought about Dover next Saturday. And that's how I hope, that's what the message I portray to the players.
Yeah, perfect. And moving on to a question from Facebook, James Nolan asks, he says, there seems to be a strong spirit and togetherness amongst the players, squad/management. It's brilliant. It often puzzles me as to why on match days, the players on the bench for that game stay on the pitch at half-time rather than be in the dressing room alongside the first 11 to hear the manager's team talk and instructions for the second half. I know a lot of teams appear to do similar, and the subs need to keep stretched up and warm, etc. But what is Pete Wild's view on this, and how important does he think it should be to keep this togetherness that all the players hear what he might have to say at halftime as a group?
One thing I insist on is that the injured players or the players not in the squad are in the dressing room before, middle, and after. I mean, I insist on that everybody's in that, but it's an important time, half time, for the boys to get on the footballs, so the subs to get on the footballs, because you never know when they're needed. Generally, every 15 minutes, we'll ask them to go and have a run and a warm up. But generally, half time, that's their time to go and get on the balls and start to move the footballs around. What they do in that time is obviously I have no control over. Some of the bigger clubs have now started employing sub coaches and warm up coaches and X, Y, and Z. But I just think it's a time for them to get on the balls. They'll get their information if they need it when they're going out. But I think that comes back to having a strong game model, strong plan, that when they go on the pitch, everybody should understand what they're doing, regardless if they're the last couple of minutes or their half-time team talk, etc., etc.
Yeah, perfect. And then the last question from the fan side is from Samuel Mykola, and he asks, what's been your favourite match or memory since taking over at Halifax?
I think there's been lots. I mean, if you sort of snapshot matches, I mean, I remember Charlie away in the first years, the atmosphere. I loved Dagenham away the other week, just how the team played and how the fans got behind us. I just thought that was up there, the Dagenham game the other week. I just felt a right buzz, and I just felt everybody was as one. But I just enjoy how much the club's progressed. I just think from where we walked through the door and what we were presented with to where we are now, and then from the hard work of the people behind the scenes, the chairman at the forefront of all that, I just love the fact of how much the club's progressing and moving in the right direction on and off the pitch. And I look at the sponsors lounge again on Saturday, and there's 150 people in the sponsors lounge. That just things like that weren't happening when we were here. And you look at the south stand and the amount of young lads that are bouncing away in the south stands, I'm sure causing mischief, but the amount of lads in the south stands doing that. I just feel my overrounding thingy is that the club's going the right way. Yeah,
so just then a few questions from my side, Pete. I know you've spoken about not looking at league table, not looking at results, etc., and things like that. But and to be fair, I wasn't actually really going to ask this because I know that you don't do those things. But I was on my BBC Radio Leeds Sports do yesterday, and I was just speaking to Matt Glennon, who obviously the former Halifax goalkeeper, and me and Matt were just sort of speaking about having games in hand and that kind of thing. And I just want to get your take on that, because we've got a couple of games in hand on the teams around us. But what is your sort of take on the whole concept of having games in hand? And you know, you get that cliche of, oh, you need to win them, but what is your sort of take on that?
Everybody plays 44 games at the end of the day. When you play them, it's irrelevant. Everybody plays 44 games. Don't get carried away. If we just do this, if we do that, oh, we've got games now. When we win them, it's irrelevant. Everybody plays 44 games at the end of it, and we'll be all judged on 44 games this season, and that's ultimately it. Some have played more than others. So what? So, but that all comes if you start looking at league tables, Rowett. And I've told you, you don't need to look at them, big man.
And obviously, I think the next question is about the league. I'm joking. It's not about league tables. No more.
I thought you said Leeds then.
So my next question for you is Weymouth Saturday. Obviously, we've got your pre-match interview coming out on Friday. But obviously, you can just give us a little quick preview into that game as well on here as well. You can, Pete.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough game. I watched their last 3 games now. Really good football inside, like they've always been. They've got a little bit more resilience about them and a little bit more toughness from the new manager in terms of he's going after teams a little bit more. They got some really good results against some really good teams, and I think we've got to stop them getting us low because they got some really good goal scoring threats. We've got to stop them playing. We've got to stop them playing, and we've got to be us. And that's something. One of the sessions that we delivered this morning was around about our work in the final third and getting more people in the final third and being more ruthless like we maybe were. I think that maybe in our last 2 reviews of matches, we feel like we need to be a little bit more ruthless and have a bit more movement in the final third to create more chances. So that's what we've been working on this week, and hopefully that'll come out on Saturday.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And obviously we had a little training takeover on the training in the week, and so we put a video out of Kieran Green back doing some ball work, and so we'll just sort of touch upon a few players, and we'll start with Green and how he's getting on at the minute.
Well, Green is driving the physio insane because he just wants to play, which is an unbelievable trait, don't get me wrong. But yeah, Greeny's been doing some straight line running. He started doing some arch running today and a little bit of dribbling with the ball and a little bit of passing today. Feels okay, but we've just got to get that right. So we're hoping that he'll start striking footballs next week. He's got a plan for tomorrow and over the weekend. Hope we start striking footies next week. And then at the end of the next week, we'll have probably a better gauge on when he's ready. So hopefully coming into that busy end of March period, he'll be available for selection.
Nice, sounds really good. And Zach Durnley as well, of course, he's been signed sort of in January, still to make his league debut. Obviously played against Liversidge in the County Cup, and how's he sort of getting on at the minute? Obviously back training too.
Yeah, Durnley's done a 4 weeks training. He's looked sharp, he's looked good, goal scoring, scores goals. Yeah, really pleased with where he is now. We just rushed him. We brought him in and we rushed him and we threw him in, and it's my fault because I just wanted him to play. So he's now ready. He's now ready and looks like the player that I wanted him to look like, that I worked with at Oldham. So he's available for selection, and hopefully he'll get his chance soon. But while the lads keep doing well, I miss him. My hands are. It's a great position for me to be in.
Yeah.
And all I ask them to do is when they're doing is to give their all. And if they give their all, then it becomes very tough to even get in the squad. So I mean, training's been unbelievable again. It's been lively as, and that's what I want it to be.
Yeah, brilliant. And then my last question for you, because obviously today with this video, I wanted to mainly just sort of focus on the fans' questions. I didn't want to sort of bombard you with all mine. And but my last one really is about Aaron Martin. Of course, another January signing, scored his first goal away at Notts County a couple of weeks ago now, wasn't it? Well, a week and a bit ago. What's been your sort of review of Aaron so far, Pete?
Well, Aaron gives us something different. He gives us a target man to hit and somebody who wins a lot of headers. Great lad, desperate to do well for the team. Good character in the dressing room. Good character on the pitch, as you saw on Saturday, trying to banjo the centre half. But he's just exactly what we needed. Something different, gives us a different way of playing, and allow Billy just to come out of the limelight and come off to one of the sides to play. So yeah, he's been great. He's been getting right up to speed. The more games he plays, the better he'll get. And like I say, I thought he took his goal excellently well at Notts County the other night. I mean, I had to bring him off at half time because I needed to go for a more pressing approach. Didn't do anything wrong. I just needed to get more of a press on and play a different way under the cosh for 45 minutes. So, yeah. But yeah, great lad. Really good addition to the squad.
Yeah, brilliant. And that concludes another catch up with the gaffer in your kitchen as well. So I think maybe we might get one in person, not in your kitchen, but we might get a catch up in the gaff, up with the gaffer.
Right, you're more than welcome for a brew if you want, mate. But I'm not sure about you coming over the hill. I don't think
I
they'll let
know.
you in.
Oldham's a bit far from Bradford. Well, it isn't, but it is when you're going from Yorkshire to Lancashire.
Yeah, well, we sent you home with a 2-0 defeat the other week.
I know, yeah.
So you don't want to come here any time soon.